Riovaz is a talented young artist who has made a name for himself over the past few years. Hopefully this video will help you learn a little more about him. Riovaz was born and raised in Jersey City, where he formed an appreciation for music early on in his life. Rio said that one of his earliest memories of enjoying music was listening to a CD his father had made for him when he was around 5 years old, which included music from bands such as 3 Days Grace, Hoobastank, and Green Day, amongst others. More music that he grew up with around the household include Michael Jackson, the Foo Fighters, and Latino rock bands such as Soda Stereo and Los Prisioneros. By the time Rio got a little bit older, his music taste shifted towards hip-hop/underground SoundCloud music in the year 2015. Rio's older brother was a fan of this music, which resulted in Rio listening to it as well. Rio specifically mentioned Young Thug as being the first rapper he ever heard and loved. From there, Rio would discover artists such as Famous Dex, Playboi Carti, Lil Uzi Vert, 1000 Band Fani, and many, many more. Rio's love for this music would be what eventually led him into creating his own music. He even said in one interview that he really knew he wanted to become an artist after watching a live performance of XXXTentacion and Trippie Redd on YouTube. The musical bug seems to run in Rio's family, with his brother being a beat maker, his sister being a singer, and his aunt also being a singer out in Ecuador. Rio had wanted to make music himself for a long time, and in May of 2017, Rio would follow this family trend of becoming a musician. He said in the beginning he didn't have his own means of recording and was using GarageBand on his cousin's MacBook to make music. Funnily enough, Rio's cousin wasn't even interested in making music, however he let Rio use his computer to record, so shout out to Rio's cousin for that. The first song that Rio ever recorded was also the first song that Rio ever released on the same day. This was a song titled Rose, and it actually received quite a decent amount of attention, gaining over 60,000 streams on SoundCloud. The song was a melodic trap song, and Rio credits the artist Nebu Kaninza as being his biggest musical inspiration early on. Moving forward, Rio continued to release music and was staying consistent, releasing roughly a song a month. At some point during 2017, Rio would go from recording at his cousin's to recording at a childhood friend's house. This friend had helped out Rio a lot early on, and for the remainder of that year, Rio would record with him. For Christmas in 2017, Rio would get his first computer and finally had the ability to record music on his own. He started using the music software Mixcraft and stuck with that software throughout all of 2018. The oldest release still public in Rio's discography is a plug-and-B style song titled Shine. Shine was recorded back in 2018, however it wasn't released until July of 2019. Rio mentioned getting more inspired to create in the plug-and-B genre because of the artist known as Wyland. Rio said that he discovered Wyland back in 2017 through some music friends he had online who were from Florida. The second oldest song still public in Rio's discography is the song titled Aquamarines. This is an FL Studio recorded song, and at some point an edit of this song was actually posted on Instagram by LeBron James's son Bronny. It was in the year 2019 that Rio made the switch to the music software FL Studio. He said that he knew his brother as well as his friends from Florida used FL, so Rio decided to try it out for himself. From here, Rio learned how to use the software with some help from his Florida friends. A particularly important early collaborator of Rio's is an artist known as Mr. Headass Trendy. Rio had met Trendy through his Florida friends, and eventually the two artists began to collaborate. They collaborated a few times, and a notable song titled Serenade was released in February of 2020. Rio said this song had done better numbers-wise than he had ever seen previously and considers this to be a turning point for his music career. The next notable collaboration between these two was the song titled Gracious, released in April of 2020. April of 2020 would also be when Rio released one of his biggest songs to date titled Prom Knight. Rio said that the flow he used on this song was actually inspired by bands such as The Smiths and The Cure. The song was recorded in October of 2019, however, Rio wasn't a fan of the song himself at first. He mentioned that his older brother and other people were pushing him to release it. His brother had actually heard Rio playing a snippet of the song from the bedroom over and told him to drop it. The funny thing about this was that Rio had kept his music making hobby a secret from his family members up until around this time. Rio said that his brother had actually found out about it on his own. Prom Knight had initially gained a lot of success that can be attributed to the edit community on Instagram. A lot of edits on Instagram were being made using Prom Knight, and it had garnered over 500,000 streams early on. About a year later, Prom Knight would eventually catch a second wind and really blow up when more edits were being made and posted, this time to TikTok. Off the back of all this success, Rio was being approached by labels with record deal offers left and right. Rio's brother was managing him and advised Rio to stay independent. Rio took this advice and stayed independent, however he did sign a couple singles deals for Prom Night and another song titled Leaving You. Rio included that Leaving You was an important song in his discography because it was the first song Rio had adopted a dance-style sound which he would continue to create and go on to be known for. Rio said that he was inspired to try out this new sound after hearing the song titled Naked by the artist Bickle. Moving forward, Rio kept the ball rolling with the release titled I Feel Fantastic in December of 2021. This song also went viral on TikTok and was a single off Rio's project titled Better Late Than Forever. At this point, labels were starting to reach out to Rio again, however he stuck with his decision to stay independent for the time being. Rio then had another big song titled You're a Parasite released in June of 2022, and it was around this time he started taking label offers into more serious consideration. He said he felt like he had a solid catalog to offer at this point in his career along with a strong fanbase and knew he would get a better deal with a label this time around. Rio eventually signed, and his first release through the label was the song titled Tell Me Your Fears in October of 2022. Rio then went on to release his first project through the label titled Disturb the Norm in February of 2023. Big singles from this project include Tantrum, You Never, Can't Keep Myself Intact, and Hypnotized featuring Skywater. Right around the same time this project was released, Rio had embarked on his first headlining tour. Rio had previously gone on tour opening up for the artist Glaive, however seeing sold out shows on his own tour really put things into a different perspective for Rio. Fast forward to May of 2023, a notable collaboration titled Heart Racing with the artist Nimstar and Kani was released. Heart Racing would eventually lead these three artists to create and then release a collaborative EP titled The Heart Racers in February of 2024. I go into more detail about this project in my Nimstar video, so I definitely recommend checking that out if it interests you. Towards the end of 2023, Rio was releasing songs that would eventually make up the Gore EP. The first release for this project was the song titled Waiting Alone with Kani. The next release was a song titled The Rake. Rio said this song had gained a lot of attention on TikTok with a glow-up trend started by Rio's friend Kayla G. Finally, the songs titled Crying at the Orgy followed by Unpredictable Things were released and the project was complete. Throughout most of 2024 so far, Rio was dealing with label problems and working to get out of his deal, which resulted in inconsistent releases. Despite this, the song titled I Wonder was released in March. This song actually features ad-libs from Rio's sister, so I definitely think that's cool. Following this, the song titled Lavender Town was released in June and is an important song because it shaped the sound for Rio's music going forward. Lavender Town featured production from Frankie Skoka, who produced the entirety of Rio's most recent project. Also definitely worth mentioning was Rio's performance at Lollapalooza. Rio's most recent self-titled project is his first full album release. Rio first started working on this album with Frankie back in November of 2023, and he finally just released it in part to some of the label issues I mentioned earlier. Rio said this project is his favorite so far, and making it was one of the best times he's had creating something. Also, he mentioned that it's his first independent release since he signed 2 years ago, so this project really does mean a lot to him. Before I wrap up this video, I want to go back on the timeline and briefly talk about some popular collaborations that I skipped over. The song titled Trust Issues with Cash Dami and Damari Harris was released in June of 2021. This song came about when Rio joined Cash Dami's Instagram live one day and Cash Dami already knew who Rio was. After the live ended, Cash Dami sent Rio a DM and the two have been friends ever since. In August of 2022, the Jersey mix of Skywater's song Miles was released featuring Rio and Bandman Rill. Rio said he was tapped in with Skywater since he was around the age of 14 years old, and Skywater shared a lot of knowledge with Rio early on, so it was a full circle moment. Rio also said it was crazy because he didn't know Bandman Rill was going to be on the song, so that was a pleasant surprise for him. And lastly, the song titled Say What You Mean with Alden was released in September of 2022. Rio briefly met Alden at a Glaive show, however this collaboration really came to fruition because of their managers being friends. To end off the video, I asked Rio about his plans for the future, and he mentioned being a lot more consistent now that he's independent again. Basically, he just wants to return to the way he treated music before any label issues muddied the waters. Rio is a very talented young artist with a bright future. Well, that's all for this video. Big shout out to Hopeless for the edit, and please subscribe for more mini documentaries on various underground artists.